This is Nah But For Real.
Nah, but for real. Tell me how I feel. What up, everybody? I'm Dave.
I'm Jazzy.
And welcome to your favorite podcast, Nah But For 1, 2, 3, 4 Real. The podcast where we just talk about all things introspection, doing the inner work to be better people, all the healing so we can be great in our relationships and stuff. Nails, how are you?
I'm good. I had a burger last night, so I feel real sluggish.
Yeah?
But other than that, I'm good.
Good.
I just need to stop eating burgers.
I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, getting some editing done. Then I had an interview for the movie that comes out June 20th. And so, yeah, make sure you get them tickets. So we're doing good. Yeah. This segment is called PSA, Public Service Announcement, meaning I only got one, in which you already know what it is because I said it last week, but I'm going to say it again. The movie that I am leading, I am the lead star in.
Absolutely.
Between Mercy and Me comes out June 20th. You can get your tickets online at most theaters, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening to this at in your respected city. Most likely you can find tickets. I will be at the Newport one unless told otherwise because I still ain't bought my ticket yet.
Me either. I'm about to buy them as soon as I leave.
So yeah, come kick it with me. We're going to go out afterwards, have a good time. And June 20th. That's what we're doing. That's the move.
That's the move.
All right. This next segment is called Let's Get Personal. Don't look at me like I don't know what I'm about to say. I knew that's why you.
Real good, Dave. You did real good. Real good.
That look was like, let's see if he get it. I got it.
All right. What we get personal about? Okay. Have you ever? Oh, I read. Okay. Have you ever blown up, called or text repeatedly without getting a response? Someone's phone. Okay, so have you ever blown up and then called or text repeatedly without getting a response? I guess is the definition of blown up because that's in parentheses. Someone's phone before. If so, what was the reason?
Yeah.
And it says someone, so that's not even a relationship or that's just
period.
Whoever.
I mean, I do that to my mama.
You blow her up.
I wish you would not pick up on the first call.
Like, how dare you?
Woman, what is wrong with you?
Have a life
You
outside
ain't
of me.
doing nothing but at home. You are retired. Okay?
Don't be blowing up your mama.
I am
She watching her favorite TV show. Leave her alone.
I am your sole provider. Okay? You better pick up the phone. I don't know why though. I think it's the protector in me.
Yeah.
Like I'm very protective
Like what's
of
going on?
especially the women in my family, like my grandmother, mom, and my sister. If you niggas don't pick up the phone.
Right. So do your mom usually answer? Like,
oh yeah.
so you blowing her up is like you usually answer. So what the heck is
Right.
going on? Okay.
Like,
that makes sense.
15 missed phone calls.
See, my mom
all
doesn't
the
answer the
things.
phone like that. So
But my mom,
I'm the same way.
we talk every day. So it's like, in my mind, if you ain't picking up, something wrong.
Right.
Like you done fail, you can't get up.
Right.
Like my mind goes there. And for
Yeah.
some reason, it's like somebody done snatched you up. And now I got to turn in a dude from Taken.
Shut up.
Like I've already planned it all
Already
out.
planning it out. Like, all right, so the next move.
Like I got the chemicals in the kitchen.
Oh,
I got the
man.
blindfolds.
Shut up. Talk about the chemicals.
I got all the things. If you do not pick up that phone, it's going to just pick up the phone. What about you?
I have a question.
What?
You know, I always got follow-up questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you never done that with anyone but other than your mom?
Oh, I mean, of course. Like, it can be friends that I talk to, exes I've done it with.
So why? So why were there? Because that's the juicy. That's the juicy parts.
I'm protective. Like at the core of who I am, I'm very protective.
So it's all surrounded by that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if I know, if we have a deep relationship and I know you've been through some stuff, that's just, my mind goes protector mode.
Yeah.
Like where you going?
Yeah.
How long you gonna be there? Like, what you going for?
That's right.
Mm-mm.
So I'm afraid that my instances were more so entitlement of a person's time and energy that they didn't want to give to me for whatever reason. Normally it was in romantic relationships. I'm trying to think if I ever blown someone up that I wasn't in a romantic relationship in. I don't think so. I think it was just romantic relationships. And it was only because they didn't want to talk to me type of thing. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to make you talk to me. But obviously that was, I wouldn't recommend.
So you're hold on. Let's time out.
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
So they said I don't want to talk, and your solution was, okay, I'm gonna blow your phone up until you are like, she's not gonna stop calling. So I'm gonna.
Yeah. So we talked about this, right? The entitlement of like. We talked about it in like I think we talked about it in the trauma episode where we talked about coping, and we talked about like how you can be in a heated argument and one of the partners in the argument can decide like, okay, well this is getting a little too much for me. Let me back up. Let me walk away. Let me do this. I'm the type of person like say it's over text, say it's over the phone. They like, listen, I can't talk right now. I need to go. I'm calling back and I'm gonna keep calling to you. But today's me, I wouldn't do that. But you know, we getting personal. We talking about things I've done.
You want to know my biggest pet peeve with that, especially with like texting and calling? You already know I hate talking on the phone. So calling me 40 million times would piss me off. But when it comes to texting, if you send like the sporadic messages, like it's like one line and then like another line and then another.
I do that too.
Oh my Lord.
I do that.
If you don't have one complete thought and then send the daggone message.
Yeah. Because one thought comes after another and then it comes after another and it just keeps happening. Like. Yeah.
But also don't send me like 4 pages of a message.
I do that too.
Find that nice little.
You know what's crazy? Like sending a long message to me is not a big deal because like it'll take me like 5 seconds to write a long paragraph. I am a very fast texter when I have a point to get across.
You process quick.
I do.
Fairly quick.
And it'll just turn into a long message. Like I'll be at work and you know, like bartending, like we all just kind of like be around each other. So it's been times where people done came like, who the heck you going off on? And I won't even be going off. It'll just be like somebody asked me a question. And it's just like, it's kind of a long answer. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
You're also a very aggressive texter.
Am I?
Not in like the emotional sense, the way you text. Like it's just very. And I just be looking like.
I be having to get.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yes.
And then like the nails along with it just makes it that much more dramatic.
I text with this right here. If anybody wants to know, this right here, get me through.
She's gonna give a.
This is when I'm like at work.
She's gonna give a master class on how to.
I have a bruise on my finger.
Of course you do.
From touching the touch screen.
She's gonna give a master class on how to operate in life with 10-inch long nails.
Period.
That's just what she's gonna do.
Shut up. All right. So that was an easy question. Wasn't too deep.
No, it wasn't too deep. So let's get real.
Let's get real.
What we talking about today? Nails?
Man, listen. We talk about what I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I know I talk about it obviously to friends, family, things like that. But on a platform, I feel like, I don't know. I guess I hear people talking about it, but not so much. I want to talk about co-parenting relationships today.
Oh.
I think it's important because it involves our kids. And our children is our opportunity to kind of recreate and rebuild, you know, the narrative surrounding our communities regarding this baby mama, baby daddy kind of culture. And I think, maybe not all of us, but I think some of us are kind of still stuck in that narrative instead of embracing the opportunity to kind of rebuild and recreate the narrative. So that's what I want to talk about, just all things co-parenting. And then I feel like when I say stuck in the same narrative, it don't necessarily have to mean like jabbing at the behaviors of people, but just like the mindsets of a person. So like one example I was thinking about yesterday, I had went on a date with a guy a while back. And we were just sitting at a table outside and a girl walks up to us. I think she was with another girl. I can't remember. But she walks up to us and she's like complimenting me and just being extra. We was at like a bar, so it was one of those things like a drunk girl comes up and she's just being extra, you know, saying little things or whatever. And, you know, I'm entertaining her because it's like, whatever, I'm just a nice person. And so she's just started asking the guy, this is like our first date, so I don't really know what's really going on with him. She's asking him things that I haven't even, like, I don't even know. So, like, she had asked him, like, do you have a kid? And he was like, yeah, I got one kid. I haven't even asked this question yet. And she was like, what did she say? She was like, do you take care of him? And I got offended. I was like, sis, why are you asking, do he take care of his kid?
This is another woman who...
This is the woman that walks up to us on our date.
Just like randomly?
Randomly. We're sitting outside. We're not really in the main part of the bar. We're outside.
And she didn't know him?
No, she didn't know either of us. She just walked up to us and started. She was like talking to me for the most part, like, "Oh, you're so cute." Da, 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 da. Like she was saying stuff like that.
Got you.
And then it turned into talking to him, and that's when she asked that question, and she was just like, "Do you have a kid?" I don't even know why. Maybe she. This was years ago, so I don't remember if there was other questions, but that question really stood out. I would never forget that because it was just like it goes along with what we're talking about as far as like the narrative, like. Are we stuck in this narrative that you really feel like you have to ask a black man, if he takes care of his child? Like, I think that was a very offensive question because it's literally presumptuous. Like, it's something that you're assuming, like, it's possible. Like, right. Oh, you're a black man. Or maybe, I don't know if it was a black man. I don't know if it's a black thing or a white thing or whatever, if it's just a man thing. Like, people just assume that men are not in the picture. Just men are probably not in the picture. And I'm just like, and we're going to talk about that too, because statistically, men are definitely in the picture, but there's still this narrative out there where people are, you know, asking these offensive questions. So I just wanted to say that example because I just think that illustrates, and I feel like that happens all the time where people are, it may not be direct like that, like, do you take care of them? But I think people are presumptuous about men, especially black men in our community, about being an active father. I think they just assume that you're not going to be an active father. Or even some men will assume that too. Like, I feel like it's been times where, like, men will like assume that I need a sitter. And I'm like, no, she has a dad. Like, we don't do sitters. Like, we co-parent with each other. We really don't need sitters. Like, anything that we need to do, I do it on the days that he has her, and anything that he needs to do, he does it on the days that I have her. And if it intertwines, then we work that out amongst each other, and that's pretty much it. We don't really need to find sitters. And I think that's another narrative thing, like a man to be like, well, he expects that I have my daughter all the time. Like, no, I have her just as much as he does, you know, so stuff like that. That narrative, I'm kind of wanting, I'm at that point, like, let's destroy that narrative, because what me and my research statistically it's not even real. Like, there are more active fathers than there are not, but for some reason we have conversations where there's an assumption that there's not an active father. There's assumption that there's a single mother complex. So yes, that's kind of what I want to get into. So I feel like I said, those presumptions destroy our community, and like I said, statistically. Okay, so getting into other statistics, large percentages of troubled children, so crime, children with behavior issues, drug abuse, homelessness, you know, all type of trouble. I just called it troubled children. Those large percentages of troubled children were raised by single mothers. I think that's important to note. You know, some women might get offended by that because, you know, of course, most single mothers, now, I'm not going to say this about all because I think this might not be the case for it, but I think most single mothers didn't really choose to be single mothers. So I can understand how that can be an offensive thing. Like, oh, you know, statistically, you're not the best bet for your child as far as like not having a father around. Right. But forget all of that. Like, I feel like women, we got to kind of come out of our ego with that statistic, because really it's not really saying that single mothers are bad. It's just saying that fathers are needed. That's how I'm looking at it.
True.
So statistically, we just need fathers in the home. Like, that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not saying that single mothers are doing bad. It's just saying they need help. Of course. I mean, we all talk about that. You know, single mothers always complain, you know, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, you know, I didn't have help. I have to do this on my own, this, and that, because you're basically acknowledging that you need the help, you know. So that was a very important statistic for me, because it's just like, wow, like, you know, that's going to jump into what I want to continue talking about, right? With the single mothers, with the single mother syndrome is what I call it. Did you have anything to say about? I'm kind of going on and on. Did you have anything to say about any of that?
No, I agree with everything you said. For me, I'm going back to just my life in general. What was necessary for my development as a young man, and my parents divorced when I was like 3, maybe 4. And so we saw my dad every other weekend, but when we would go over his house, most times he was at work. So it was just a matter of, you know, he wasn't always there. And it kind of put a rift in our relationship. However, I think what made me the man I am today is that I had father figures in my life. I had men in my life who saw something in me.
Right.
And who believed in me and still do to this day. And they pour into me. And my mom couldn't do it all by herself. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. You know, my mom, when I was a kid, little boy, we used to wrestle a lot. And we used to play baseball outside and do all this stuff together. But mom also worked a full-time job and had my sister to take care of too, and had to tend to her needs. So couldn't do it all by herself. You know, she did a wonderful job of what she could do. But I attribute my development to also the men who came into my life and told me the truth, had conversations with me, because men are needed, fathers are needed.
Yes.
And and especially to the development of all children, but especially to a son. Yes. Like, I wish my father was there. Yes. All the time.
And that statistic, as far as like how most troubled children, basically is what the statistic is saying. Most troubled children come from single mothers. And I think that pretty much also suggests, yes, fathers are needed, but why are fathers needed? I feel like fathers are needed in that sense with troubled children because they're better disciplinarians. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all men or all fathers are better disciplinarians than mothers. You may go in a household and it's like, it's the mother that's the disciplinarian. I'm not knocking that at all. I'm sure that happens. But I think in general, I know me growing up, I was more scared of my dad than I was my mom. I know my daughter right now is more scared of her dad than she is of me. So I just feel like that just speaks to the leadership and the discipline that comes with a man and a father, and why it's set up that way. Like, you know, right. God created us this way for a reason. Like, we need our fathers for that. But not only that, I also feel like it suggests the security that a father brings.
Yeah.
I'm sure that a mother brings security too, but it's not just security as far as like survival, like being a provider. I feel like security as far as a sense of belonging. Mm-hmm. I think that, like, there was this pastor, he had this theory about fathers being like a way. It's like your identity is kind of surrounded in your father. Like, who you are and who you belong to is like, your father is that representation. Mm-hmm. If you even think about the tradition of weddings, like, your father is giving away his daughter to this. It's like you belong to your father. We take the father's last name. Yeah. That sense of belonging is important.
And it's because the way God constructed the family.
Of course.
The man is a head of the house, the head. Mm-hmm. The woman is, I'll put it this way, the man is the head, the woman is the neck.
Yeah.
And the children fall under that.
Right.
And when you have that family together in one household, it produces something called legacy. Mm-hmm. And a father is needed for legacy. Mm-hmm. Because you take on that last name. Even if a daughter gets married to another man and takes his last name, that father figure is still needed for legacy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you can't have the legacy of your mother or anything like that.
It sucks to have to keep having to say that, but
what I'm saying is that leadership, that authoritative figure, that that voice that speaks to you to build you up in a way, is absolutely necessary for the development of all children, of all people, really. And so, I mean, it's like you said, the leadership of a father is always needed.
Yes, and like I said, the sense of belonging to someone, that security, that belongingness. Like this pastor also had this other theory about how he felt about hip hop, because I like to talk about our culture. Like, I love all y'all other cultures, but our culture is my focus for real with a lot of these topics. And he talked about how hip hop, the whole umbrella of hip hop, and what all of that it entails, takes the place of a father in the black community. And I thought that was interesting. That's what he said. He said, think about what hip hop does for black men. It teaches you how to talk, how to walk, how to dress. Everything a father teaches you, hip hop teaches you. And then that just makes me think how we were talking about a sense of belonging. Think about a fatherless son, a fatherless, boy. He's going to want to join something and, have this sense of belonging. It makes sense to go to gangs. It makes sense to kind of belong somewhere. Finding a father figure in hip hop, finding a father figure in something that they belong to, because they don't have that father figure. They don't have that sense of belonging. Yeah. I thought that was so deep, because it's so true when you think about it. Like, what? That makes sense. And it don't have to be hip hop. You can take that with anything that you've allowed yourself to belong to that may be detrimental to you or may not be detrimental. But you might have did it in the act of not having that father figure. Yeah. And I just thought that was a very dope analogy. Like,
that's
dang,
great.
Like, hip hop
I never thought
is
about it
a father. Way. That's what hip hop is. It's a father, and it may not be the greatest father, if I may add, but it's a father.
Right.
It's
but
a father.
It's a father nonetheless. I mean, in music overall, it hits an absence in you. Yeah. It fills a hole. And it's sometimes not even music. It could be anything. Yeah. Or something. Anything can father you if you allow it. Drugs can father you.
Yeah. And with the hip hop analogy, like, this is not talking about music. This is just thinking about hip hop. What do you think about? Like, if you was to, you don't got to play no song to see a hip hop in a person. You can look at a person and see, like, okay, they're hip hop. You know what I mean?
Like, you was influenced.
The way you behave.
You was influenced,
the way you talk, the way you walk, the way the whole culture around hip hop. The NWA, when they started hip hop, it was a culture, it was a movement. You know what I'm saying? And it was the way you dress. Drug dealers became rappers. You know what I'm saying? And what was the drug dealers doing? What were they wearing? How were they behaving? And then you see this kind of culture kind of happen. It makes so much sense how this is a father replacement. And I just think that's just something to think about as far as, like, how important fatherhood is. And I don't know, I just can't express that enough, because, and I don't want to be the person that just downplays hip hop, but we're not going to sit here and act like there's not any issues surrounding that movement. We don't have to get into it, but we know, the killing, the violence, all these things that comes along with it. Unfortunately, there may be some positive J. Cole's out there, but there is not many J. Cole's and Kendrick Lamar's. It's just one or two. The rest is,
and also,
what we know.
A lot of hip hop was birthed from their surroundings. I mean,
I think it was birthed from fatherlessness. I think that's where it came from. They had to find somewhere to belong. They had to find a father.
And of course, all this. Yeah, we going there, and I don't care. It all goes back to slavery. It all goes back to when our ancestors were brought here, the construct of America. I was just talking about this in the interview earlier. Mm-hmm. The construct of America is built on racism and tearing the black family apart. Yeah, because they knew, and I'm not saying we don't know this. I wish we pushed this out more. Mm-hmm. slave owners knew if we could separate the man from the family,
Yep. It was going to cause all
it was going to cause all kinds of chaos. Because, and it's still true today, there is something, the foundation of the family is stronger when the father is there.
Yes.
And so when you tear the family apart, that foundation is always going to be rocky.
Right.
And it's going to make it harder for the mother to have to be mom and dad.
Yes.
Like for my mom, she had to be mom and dad most times. Mm-hmm. And so what I would love to see more, because you saw a lot of it. I saw a lot of it growing up. I think the world needs more mentors and more father figures now.
More leaders, more male leaders. More male leaders, please.
Because, and don't get me wrong.
Female leaders is great, but more male
I'm all
leaders
about
for
women's
me.
empowerment. It's wonderful. It's great. Ladies, I believe you are God's greatest creation. I do. However, when you are partnered with a man, it produces something greater than yourself. And that's what we need. We need, especially in the black family, we need to keep producing our culture.
Yes.
Because there's power in numbers.
And uplifting black men. You know what I'm saying?
That too.
Uplifting black men, because they're so needed. And that's kind of what I want to get into when we're going to start talking about the single mother syndrome and complex, because we act like the opposite. It's like so obvious. It's like statistically, we can walk outside right now and see that black men are needed. But we literally treat them like the opposite. And it's crazy to me. Now, we could be just talking about the extremities here. I don't know how normal it is, right, to treat black men a certain way, whatever. But I see it all the time, at least in my world. You know, black men aren't needed, but they are. You know what I'm saying? Like our behavior suggests that black men aren't needed, but they are. You know, we so independent. We're so excited and so happy to take on everything without the black men. You know, I forget the girl named Pearl. She goes viral all the time, and she talks about this stuff all the time. And she talks about how women benefit from basically pushing a man out the door. Like, we get food stamps, we get this free health insurance, we get all these things when a man's not present. You know, even divorce, you know, we get the kids, we get the child support, we get so many benefits from leaving our men.
That's crazy to me to think about. Like, you benefit more from the government that initially tore the black family apart.
Yeah, it's all an agenda, in my opinion. I'm an conspiracy theorist and love, but I definitely feel like it's an agenda, 100%.
Yeah.
It's too much of a coincidence. Like, come on, you have all these single mothers. You have all these single mothers that benefit from being single mothers, and you see all the things that's happening to tear the black man down. You know what I'm saying? It's like, is it coincidental? Like, I don't feel like it's a coincidence.
You can look at the prison system and tell it's not coincidental.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this can be like 17 episodes right now. Like, this
True.
is a lot. But it's just all surrounded by knowing that black men are needed, knowing that black fathers are needed. So let's just talk about the single mother thing. You know, being hyper independent. That's an issue within itself. You know, being hyper independent even without children. We already talk about this probably every episode. Just the hyper independence, in my opinion, needs to stop. Like, we need to understand that we do need help as women. I am talking to myself as well. Like, I am definitely unlearning that. Like,
yeah,
I'm so independent. Like, I hate saying that now. I hate hearing women say that. Like, soon as I see that on Instagram, I'm scrolling. Like, I don't want to hear it, because it's so incorrect and it's so detrimental when you think about it. Like, just think about the hyper independent woman that have kids, and her daughter's dad, you know, she disagrees with certain things, or her kid's dad, you know, that can easily create like a bitter baby mama, in my opinion.
Right.
You know, because she don't feel like she needs you anyway. So as soon as you step out of her expectations or what she wants from you, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't she start acting a certain way or trying to keep you out of the picture? And I think that it can kind of come from an independent woman. Obviously, it can come from just a woman who's bitter because she wants you back. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want her anymore. And
Yes.
now all of a sudden you're intentionally keeping the kids away, or you're making it extremely difficult for him to get the kids.
Because it's about you, and it's all about your emotions and all about what you didn't get out of him. And now you're trying to make this man suffer.
And
especially if just because it didn't work with you two doesn't mean it can't work between him and the child.
It's like you're trying to hurt him.
You're
bitter.
You are.
So that means you're trying to hurt that person. But what you're also doing is hurting your kids.
Right.
So it's,
especially if he wants to be in the child's life. That's the crazy part to me.
and that's what happens to the most.
Right.
Almost. Like dang near, the men that want to be fathers get the worst treatment. It's like I know so many men, and I have so many stories from so many different men, and it's just like, why is she like this? And then, of course, he'll tell the story about the relationship and how it ended, and, maybe he wasn't the best boyfriend, or, whatever. Y'all decide to call it a quits, but that has nothing to do with the parenting part.
No.
I am super blessed to have a co-parenting partner that understands that. We never had to talk about this. We have never had to say, we gotta put, Jordan before. We never had to have that conversation.
Right.
It was very, it was common sense. Like Jordan needs both of us. We never had to talk about that. We will go at it though. We shared our emotions with each other. We were mad at each other for whatever reason. We done called each other all kind of names. We done been toxic to each other. But when it came to our daughter, we've never disagreed.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not, and I think the reason why we never disagreed is because we both love our daughter so much. We want her to have each other in her life. And
Yes.
it's like, do you love yourself more than you love your kids? Because to me, if you're keeping your kids away from the father that actually wants to be in their life, to me, you're showing that you don't love your kids as much as you think you do.
And you don't love yourself that much if you're taking it out on your children to keep them away from
your children as pawns.
from their father. Because when they get, I'm telling you now, I've seen it done. When they get older and start to understand
like what was happening,
what was happening,
you keeping me.
They are going to look at you and be like, "Oh, you were the problem."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you want to play the victim.
Right.
When really you were the problem this entire time.
Yeah. So there's different levels to that, right? So you got, because I know so many different stories, right? So you got the baby mom. Maybe she's not bitter. Maybe she just has this idea of what she feels a father should do. Okay, so let's just say an example. Maybe you're the father that comes around when he comes around.
Right.
So the baby mom or the child's mom, the child's mother is like, I don't like that. You're too inconsistent. You're here, you're there, you're everywhere. So just don't come around at all. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's okay?
No, because as a man, and I didn't realize this with my dad until I got older, because I used to be mad that he didn't come around as often. Or when we would go over there every other weekend, he would always have to be somewhere, be at work or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the man got to make money.
Yeah.
He's a dad.
Right.
And it's like, if the court is ordering him to pay this certain amount per month, that man got to go to work. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean he doesn't want to spend time. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to be around. It's just he has to provide for his children. Mm-hmm. Because my dad didn't want to come across as a deadbeat. Right. He wanted to be there for his kids. Mm-hmm. However, he had to work.
He was busy.
And it goes into, I think we talked about this before. You can't always have everything.
Yeah.
Like, do you want time with him or do you want him to provide?
Yeah.
You're not going to always get both all the time.
Yeah.
So
let's just say that I'm sorry. Did you complete your thought, or did you? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
It don't matter.
I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Let's just say, I guess, because that in that sense, okay, you got a father that's trying to be there, but maybe he's busy, which we see that happening. But maybe, okay, so we all know the famous Fresh Prince situation, right? Maybe something like that. Like he comes around, but he doesn't come around. Like it's nothing consistent. He comes when he can, and it can be months in between. It can be years in between. It can be.
Yeah.
Is it okay for the mother to say, bro, just don't come around at all?
I believe so, because your actions are showing what your intentions are. You only coming around because I will ask the question of why. So what's your reason so you don't come off as a deadbeat? Because what you're giving off is you really don't care. You're just more concerned about how you look rather than the intentionality of the relationship between you and your child. So what is your reason, like, for you to just come around now? Like the Fresh Prince episode, he had an agenda.
What was his agenda? Remind me. The father had an agenda?
Yeah, it was more of,
like, easing his guilt, maybe.
Yeah, like it was
for him.
It was for him, not for Will. Mm-hmm. And so it goes back to the intentionality of, like, why are you here?
So can a mother? So for me, I'm kind of on a seesaw with that, because it's dead wrong for a man to be inconsistent in his child's life. But it's hard. Can a mother really decide how the father's going to be? Like, is it a mother's job to say, well, you're not a good father, you're not the best father, so don't be a father at all? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it really our place? I get it why we want to protect our kids. But do we really determine this man's fatherhood to his child? Do we really get to determine that? I don't feel like we can. I feel like technically,
no,
it's not our
because
place.
I feel like in some cases, your actions will choose for you on his side.
Right.
You just ain't saying it. So in that scenario, what most women will do, what most moms will do, is be like, let me make this decision for you, because your actions are saying it for yourself.
Right.
You just not man enough to
You just don't want to
speak
be a
up.
father.
Like, you don't want to be a dad.
Right.
Like, I'm about to tell somebody's business. I look right here. I do not care. Okay?
Shut up.
So glad we are in this agreement. The father of my nephew, Caden, who has cerebral palsy, told my sister, because my sister was being very gracious, a little too gracious for me. She was like, hey, I don't want to take you to court. Just slide me a little money under the table and we'll be cool. Because he told her, I don't want him to be in my life. I don't want to be in his life. Told her that straight up.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, my God.
and my sister was like, okay, well, you're going to help somehow. So she was like, just slide me a little bit of money. This man says, I can slide you $100 a month. What?
My light bill costs more than that. A human?
So you mean to tell me your child, who has a medical condition, a lifelong medical condition, and you only care to give, one, you don't want to be in his life. Number two, you only go. So,
it's making my stomach hurt.
And also, he is a political figure in the city of Cincinnati. But I'll leave it at that.
That doesn't surprise me, though. You know how I feel about politicians.
So my sister, we talked. I said, I said a different word, but I'm going to say behind, take his butt to court at this point. Because I hate that the government has to get involved, but when you chose this.
Yeah.
Especially if Danielle offered you grace.
Yeah.
Now it's to the next step.
Yeah.
Now, because also my sister is a single mom of 3.
Yeah.
And it's different. You know, my other niece and nephew, their father is involved. They work something out. It's working great. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. That's different than you just don't want to show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you try to take the easy way out. That I don't respect.
No, you can't respect that. It's like your priorities, your responsibilities are. I don't even have words for that type of person. That is more so on a. I can appreciate, you know, a man being honest about that, where to the point where instead of me being the child's mother, where I'm like having my hopes up and thinking this and thinking that, and you just like telling me, it still hurts, and you know, I'm sure that would tear me to pieces.
Yeah, and it's tough to even to this day. Caden is 6 or 7, and it's still tough to watch my sister have to take care of him. And she's killing it. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that she has to do it by herself.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. Like,
yeah,
you got to do it by yourself because the father just won't.
Yeah.
Step up.
We definitely.
I'm sorry if I got ahead.
No. It happens like that. You know, we have our stories, but yes, we're gonna talk about deadbeats for sure. But yeah, that's a more of an extremity as far as like in the sense of keeping the kids away from men or away from their fathers. You know, intentionally because of bitterness, or maybe it's because they feel like you're not being the best dad you're supposed to be. And like, I think that there's gray areas there, because I feel like can a mother really decide how the father is supposed to be? I have to say no. But I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand you being protective of your child. But just because I understand it doesn't mean that I 100% agree with it. Because at the end of the day, I don't think it's up to us as women to be this say all, be all with our children. I feel like part of me feel like if a father is trying, give that child their father, you know, let that father be the father.
Absolutely.
But it sucks because, like I said, the Fresh Prince thing, like that's like, bro, you're not like, and that's why you brought up your story, because, you know, in that sense, he was blunt about it. Like, I don't want to be in his life. In the Fresh Prince sense, he wasn't blunt about it, but his actions
said otherwise. Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do? It's a very gray area. And so I wanted to mention that, because I don't want to just be up here like, oh, bitter baby mama, stop leaving, stop keeping your kids away, because I know that there's instances where it kind of makes sense to be like, listen, stay away from my kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I get that. And I'm not here to say protect your kids however you feel best to protect your kids. But it's just that gray area that I feel like, you know, needs to probably be discussed more, in a sense of, you know, our mothers kind of taking on a role that they really don't have to when it comes to protecting their kids and keeping fathers away. And it's like, are we overextending ourselves in that sense?
Yeah.
You know, let the father kind of, we shouldn't be, because there's a less extreme examples as well. Like, we don't need, you know, like there are stories, well, you need to get them on these days and these days, or you know what I mean? Like some mothers are a little more controlling than they have to be.
True.
And they're like,
it's like micromanaging.
And it's like, it's what I say goes. It's like, they live with me, you get them here and there, so you do what I say. And it's like, bro, no, he's the father, and that's what it is. Like, you don't get to tell him what to do, how to do, just because you have them more than them. Did
you read Will Smith's book? Do you know his story?
No, but I a little bit about his father and stuff like that.
When Will and his first wife got divorced. His oldest son wanted to stay with his mom. And so I don't know if it was his dad or Will's dad or like a father or a friend of his. And they had respect for each other. I'm sure there was tough times. But he said in the book, his dad told him, he said, give it time. Mm-hmm. He said, you still be there for him, provide for him, even though he doesn't want to be around you right now. Mm-hmm. He said, just wait till he gets older, like when he turns like 13, 14. And sure enough, his son came to the realization like, dang, like I want to be with my dad.
Yeah.
And so, because when his son was younger, I believe, he was just a little kid, I think he was just really upset with his dad because he wasn't there and things like that. So, was he there in the beginning? Not as much, because their relationship just wasn't a good one. Mm-hmm. But as his son got older, his son actually went up to him and was like, I want to live with you. And it did something for Will. And I think that's another thing we don't really talk about much, what it does for the father when he can be one.
Say that.
Because it's like you said, we focus so much on the mother and what she needs,
she's the say all be all.
The say all be all.
Children, and that shouldn't be that way.
But it's like, man, it does something to a man when he can be the father he wants to be.
Yeah.
And he's not micromanaged. He's not looked at or looked down upon because just at those first few years he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Not because, and it goes back to, the intentionality. It's like he wanted to be there, but it was kind of like, if your child say, I really don't want you around right now, doesn't mean it lasts forever. Yeah. But it does something to a man's esteem where he can be that leader.
Yeah. And
he can be that authoritative figure, mm-hmm. and have the respect of a father and things like that. And so,
yeah,
I believe, like I said, it does something when a man is just capable of being the father.
Yes.
That's something I dream of, is being the father that I've never seen.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to be there for my kids. Like, I don't want my kids taking the bus to school.
Right.
I just don't. I want to take my kids to school.
Absolutely.
If I decide they go to public school, amen. Because people crazy out here. But I dream of that because I didn't get that with my dad.
Yeah.
I had a couple moments here and there, where my dad, I remember he came to career day in middle school. And it was also weird because my mom worked at the middle school and my dad was there. And I was like, this is a little awkward. A little weird. But it was
Assuming you didn't see them together often or in the same room out
there. What? No. But it was cool because he also took us to lunch. Like, we got to leave school.
Oh, that's right.
Like, and I was like, oh, we get to leave. Cool, let's go. Like, we out of here.
Okay.
But yeah, I just dream of that. Just like being that consistent figure in my kids' lives.
Yeah. So let's talk about that in a little more expanding on that, because we're talking about intentionally keeping men, or keeping fathers. I don't know why I keep putting men here. Fathers from their kids.
Yeah.
It's possible that we produce deadbeats when we do this. And it wasn't until, it sucks because there's two sides of this. But it wasn't until recently, like the last few years, where I really started realizing, single moms with this complex of being the say all be all, and being this micromanaging mother, and being this controlling mother, not letting the father play father without her hovering over his fatherhood, and intentionally keeping them from them because they're bitter and all of that surrounding that and producing. I feel like it can produce a deadbeat. Let me just say this. On one end, I used to feel like I resent men who allow that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're following, right? Me saying I'm making it hard for you to be a father.
Yeah.
This produces deadbeats. I'm in that moment now in my life where I completely understand now. Deadbeats. And this sounds crazy for a mother to say because I get it. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. Here's the thing with fathers and mothers keeping kids away from their fathers for whatever reason. You're making it hard for them, right? So say you make it hard for them to the point where they have to go to court. They have to pay a lawyer. They have to do this. They have to do that. They have to argue with you. They have to do all of these things just to maybe be a dad. Because that doesn't mean, just because you spend thousands of dollars on lawyers don't mean you're going to win the case. Just because and it's just like, and I remember, okay, let me give you an example. I remember this guy, and it's actually my friend Shar who told me the story. She said a guy made a post on Facebook about what I just said, just the struggle. Like, I'm so hurt and upset. Like, he didn't say these exact words, but in a gist, he was just so hurt and in pain by the process that had to take place just for him to be a father.
Man.
And so many women, so many women, like, he got jumped in the comments by women, like, just go to court, just do this, just do that. Like, don't let her let you. And it's just like, bro, duh. But at the end of the day, I can still feel a way about it.
Yeah.
And I used to be that woman, like, with my ex. My ex had issues with his kid's daughter. I mean, his kid's mom, right? And I used to tell him, like, just go to court. Like, just do this, just do that. And I never realized how dismissive I was being to his feelings. Like, because just go to court is not a way to respond to a man feeling salty or sad or frustrated or upset because he has to go to court. He wants to talk about that.
It's like the most obvious thing you could say. Just go to court. Well, yeah. However,
but it's like, I don't want to have to do that, and that's fine. Men are supposed to be upset about that because that is ridiculous when you think about it.
And the probability of it not going in their favor is very high.
And they have to spend thousands of dollars. And so when I say I have come to a point in my life where I understand deadbeats, that is what I'm talking about.
Because a lot of deadbeats really don't want to be.
Exactly.
The choice was made for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do I go through this life trying to be stressed out? It's not even about the child anymore. It's about who my child's mother is at this point. Like, I got to deal with that just to be in my kid's life. Like, that's why I brought up all of that. That's why I brought up the Will Smith situation, because it's like, you know what? Give it time.
Right. Just let it go.
Just give it time, man.
I'm just going to be an absent father because why? I mean, listen, it's so crazy because women, that's how I know we undervalue a men's struggle all the time, but especially when it comes to fatherhood and all the complications that come with trying to be a good dad, we undervalue the feelings and the frustration and the struggle so much.
Especially
because we don't experience it at all. We will never be in that case. I mean, there are women that are in that case. I know men who full custody. I know it can happen, but it doesn't happen often enough for us to really understand it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what it was for me when I was undervaluing it. You know, I didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that. I'm never going to be in that situation. I'm a mom. I'm privileged when it comes to my daughter. We have the rights. So that's another thing. That's a whole nother thing. Legally, a father don't even have rights to his kids unless they're married.
Right. I want to especially speak to the men out there, the fathers out there who are trying to be in their children's lives, especially when you didn't have a father in your household. I want to encourage you to keep going.
Absolutely.
I really do. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. It's stressing you out because you also have to be a man, a black man in America, which is already another stress in itself. And now you also have to fight for your relationship with your child with somebody who's trying to keep you out of their life.
And
Like,
then
I listen.
the disgust that comes with that on the woman's side, because
Right.
you know he's fighting for his life every day, just in general, just because he's black. He's a black man. And then you as a black woman going to help push the narrative and help with that. You're producing the very same things that racist white people are producing. You're doing the same exact thing. How disgusting is that?
And it's
I feel
like-
like if you're that type of woman, don't ever speak on racism. Don't ever Black Lives Matter,
True.
nothing.
Because it only, my Lord.
Don't go downtown. Don't do none of that
Because
because you're the problem.
You're pushing the narrative. You're helping that situation.
You're worse. I take a racist white man over a mother that won't let a good black man be a father to his kids any day, bro. Any day.
I agree.
Because that is so now you're not only destroying this black man, you're destroying the children. You're destroying
Right.
the children's children, because it's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going. So
And-
look about what you're doing. You're doing
and
the same thing as racist. white
What
men.
you're doing, you don't even realize that in 20, 30 years, how you are going to look when the truth comes out. Because we don't think long term, because your emotions are involved. But I'm telling you now, when the truth comes out and them kids find out that man has been fighting for them and wanting to see them, because at some point they're gonna wonder, where's my father?
Right.
Oh, and you better hope the grace of God is on your kids towards you,
Yeah.
because that truth is going to be really hard to come from, and it could ruin your relationship with your child. And we
more
don't.
importantly, it ruins the child.
And it
That's-
ruins the
That's
child.
more important. Like, forget you. It's the kids, because you got to think the kids is going to have kids, and those kids are going to have kids. So you are literally ruining a lineage of people,
Yep.
a whole lineage of people,
And they going
including yourself.
and now they're going to have to relearn or just start from square one, because at some point in your lineage, a black boy is going to grow up and have to be the curse breaker of his family at some point. And that pressure is so hard. Trust me, I know for myself.
Especially if you've never seen it happen
Right.
in your world. You know what I'm saying? We don't have strong black leaders in households. Women are helping that narrative, and now we're having these black boys continuously not have black figures, and it's just so think about, okay, I want to break the curse, but I don't even have any male black figures in my life, so that's
Right.
a whole struggle within itself to even do.
And so, like I said, I just really wanted to encourage those black fathers out there. You are
Yes.
necessary.
Yes.
You are needed. We need you. We need you every day. We see your hard work.
My brother has been fighting for custody for, I want to say it's at least been more than a year. And I tell him this all the time. I say, and it's crazy because they're working something out right now, and it's like, boy, you are better than me. Your grace and forgiveness, because I'd be ready to punch her every time I seen her. I'd be ready, like, I wouldn't be able to meet up with her. I wouldn't even be able to look at her.
Listen,
Because I'm fighting to be a dad for no reason. Because of you.
I'm the same way with my nephew's dad. Every time I see him,
It's just like,
he used to go to our church, and every time he would walk in, I would be like, Lord, you're going to have to soften my heart, because right
Yes.
now, in the middle of praise and worship, I want to punch him in the throat.
yes. Yes.
And it's just like, what's crazy is it's gotten around in the city.
yeah.
There was a moment he was giving a speech because he was running for re-election, and he has a son that he claims publicly. And during his speech, somebody who we don't know, but they know the situation, said, well, what about Caden? And I mean in front of the whole
I know that's right.
audience. Nobody put him up to it. However, whoever you are, if you ever see this, thank you. Thank you
that.
so
Because
much.
listen,
He did not respond. He just kept on with his
I
speech.
just tell you, your problem's gonna follow you.
And I'm
You're not gonna be able to
telling
run away
you,
from them. They're gonna be here until you deal
they
with it.
gonna be here.
Until you deal with it.
But listen, we have to keep fighting and change the narrative of fatherhood, especially black fatherhood, because it's necessary. And please get out of your own way. It's not about you.
Yes.
It's really not.
It's
At this point, especially at our age, it's about the legacy we want to leave. It's about the children now.
yeah.
I get it. You got a life and you got things to figure out. But once you have a child, it's no longer just about you. Every
Right.
decision you make does not affect you anymore
affects both.
because your children are watching.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, just keep fighting, man. Like I said, I tell my brother all the time, like your grace, your forgiveness, you know, your fight, your constant fight, like everything, all the emotions that he went through and is still probably going through to this day. I can only imagine what that feels like every day. Every day you got to wake up and encourage yourself like, I'm still fighting for my son.
Yes.
I'm still fighting for my son. I think women, you know, if you're in a situation like I was with my ex and, you know, I have like a blessed situation and then I'm in a relationship with a man that doesn't have as much of a blessed situation and I wasn't as understanding of his situation. I think women who are in situations like that need to do a better job encouraging our black fathers to fight, you know,
Yes.
encouraging them in a way where it's not like we're stigmatizing them for thinking about not fighting, because it makes complete sense why they would think about not fighting. We just talked about that, understanding deadbeats. We need to be more understanding of why they want to be a deadbeat, because it makes sense. They have to go through so much. Women don't ever have to touch any type of things that they have to touch when it comes to being a mother. We just automatically a mother. It's easy for us. It's nothing. For fathers, it's different. And I feel like women who don't really go through that struggle, don't really have to worry about that. We're very insensitive to their feelings. And I think if we can do a better job uplifting men, encouraging men, supporting men, assisting men, speaking life into men, then maybe we'll have more men fighting. You know what I mean? Because I can't say that women like that story I told you with the Facebook post and all the women going off on him. I don't think that if that, like, I don't feel like that's, how can I put this? I don't feel like that is completely separate from the fact that there are these large amounts of deadbeats out here. Like, Could it be that the fact that we stigmatize men so much, that's only making it worse? That's only making them stay away. That's only making them want to be even more of a deadbeat now, because that's what's expected of them, and that we stigmatize them for having feelings about being a deadbeat. We stigmatize them for all the struggles that they have to go through. So why on earth would they keep trying? So I just think we just need to do a better job at stigmatizing men for having feelings about having valid feelings. It's valid. Feelings are valid, and I think women need to do a better job acknowledging that.
Yeah, the most dangerous thing you can do is combat somebody on how they tell you they feel. Like, but these are my feelings. This ain't everybody else's feelings.
Right.
I'm talking about me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I feel this way.
Yeah.
And for you to come and say, oh, and this pisses me off. Ooh, I just had a flashback. For you to try to tell me I'm not feeling the way I feel, or I'm crazy for feeling the way I feel, says more about you than it does me. But
I
also,
think it's just the lack of understanding, the lack of education, the lack of awareness.
Also, I think it's the lack of empathy and the lack of
empathy, yeah.
of curiosity towards people. Like,
Yeah.
and I said this in this interview I had earlier. We're no longer curious about people anymore. We're like, we have to be so precise and so right because we're afraid to be wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you tell me, Dave, I feel like you got a big nose. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like, I'm curious. Like, why do you feel
Right. Like what's a little nose?
Or let me be a little more serious. Like, you've shared with me, like, Dave, I feel like you're gonna overwork yourself. Mm-hmm. And I can sit here and be like, no, I'm not, blah, 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 and which I've done. Mm-hmm. Or I can be curious as to why you feel that way.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Because you can't be curious and offended at the same time.
Yeah. And
it's just like, we need to get back to the curiosity of people because it makes you ask questions.
Yeah.
And asking questions causes for deeper thinking and deeper conversation.
Yeah.
So
and it takes you out of the picture.
Yeah, like,
we like to insert ourselves in stuff that it ain't even necessary to insert ourselves in. Like
right.
Like I said, it goes back to that Facebook post. Women on there going off on him because they're inserting their feelings about how fathers should be. This is not about your feelings.
Right. It ain't even about you.
It's not about you.
That's the crazy thing about social media. It's like, well, I wouldn't. We're not talking about you.
We're not talking about you, baby.
You're
not in this situation, so you can't even speak to it.
Right.
But you're trying to speak to it.
But you're looking for validation for how you feel about something that ain't even got nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you, and it's not even about you. That your feelings has nothing to do with his feelings about his situation. It really doesn't. And I think that's a I feel like that's a communication skill that a lot of us need to have. And I'm just gonna say, especially women, I think a lot of our I just made a post the other day where a man was just explaining why how women don't understand a man's struggle, or at least try to understand a man's struggle. I just think we're so self-absorbed sometimes that we don't even notice that we're doing it. Like, I'm sure I did it a billion times, and I probably still do it because I think it's just natural for us to be just selfish and self-absorbed and entitled, that we will insert, like I said, Dave can share his feelings about something, and sometimes I'll have to catch myself like, okay, if that response is about me, let me think of a response that will cater to what's actually going on. You know what I'm saying? And I just think I don't know why. That's like another conversation, like why we're like that. But I feel like a lot of women are like that.
A lot of men are too. It's just like, I think it's,
maybe it is a man thing too.
I don't want to say natural. I don't think it's natural. I think we've been taught, especially in the era of social media right now, it's all about us.
The self-love thing is kind of like overkill. Like,
but it's not even really self-love, I think. It's more like self-arrogance. Like,
it's not.
I gotta make it about me in some way, shape, or form so I feel included.
Yeah.
And it's just like, or we can just talk about you.
Right. Yeah.
And see how you doing.
Right, but that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
But we don't do that though.
Yeah.
Because for some reason I need to feel validated too.
That's so good. Like you said, getting back to the curiosity of people, that to me is extremely important. I think it's more, I'm starting to realize just in real time, like, how important it is, because without that, we are being selfish, and nothing is really, like, we're not really producing anything. We're not really building with each other. We can't create any new narrative without understanding people. So it's just, I don't know. That's good. I feel like we definitely need better communication skills, better understanding of people, and not so self-absorbed within ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely, that's good. I'm just put it that way. So I want to switch a little bit of gears from baby mom. We talked about the baby mom. Let's talk about fathers, okay? Because I don't want this whole episode to be about women and, bitter women and things like that. Of course, there are things that, even though I think that, I shouldn't say that, but I think it is a huger issue.
No, but it's you really mean it if you're making up words.
It's a bigger, I don't know if I should say that though, but for right now,
It's a more significant issue.
I feel like it's a more significant issue with the women and keeping, because that it turns into this big situation. We already talked about statistics of fatherlessness, and it's just such a bigger like picture of things, I feel like. But at the same time, there are bones to pick when it comes to fatherhood as well. I have here the babysitter father syndrome. Did I put syndrome? Yeah, I put syndrome. Babysitter father syndrome. What do you think I mean when I say that, Dave?
I really don't know.
The babysitter.
The babysitter. It's like, I mean, I'm very literal. So you just drop them off.
It's not a trick question. It's not a trick question.
You just drop them off and that's that. And then you pick them up when it's time.
So when I say babysitter syndrome, I mean, okay, so let me just give you an example of me and my daughter's dad. We have a schedule, right? We know when I wake up on Monday, if I'm picking up Jordan or not, same with him. It's a schedule, right? It doesn't change unless it needs to change based on whatever is going on in our lives. Then you have the babysitter father syndrome, right? Where the mother is the 100% provider for the kids. And then you have the father who come in sometimes when she have to work this late, or she wants to go out. She wants to go out of town. Okay, we're going to give them to the kids. There's no schedule.
Right.
There's no consistency with you getting your kids. It's just the mother got it. And then when I can come in and help out here and there, I'm going to come in and help out here and there. But you may still get your kids on a regular because she has a regular life. But it's not regular in a sense of like how she's doing it. Because that's one thing. And I feel like I was still being insensitive to my ex's feelings. But that's one thing that I had to bring up to him a lot. Yeah. Because a lot of the stuff that we talked about with the bitter baby mom and things like that, don't get me wrong. Some of the women's feelings are valid as well when it comes to certain things. You know what I'm saying? Because is it really fair that a woman does all the doctor's appointments, always get the children ready for work? She got to get ready for work and get the children ready for school. She's doing that 95% of the time, and the man is doing that 5% of the time. How is that okay? To me, that's not okay. There are fathers out there that probably think, oh yeah, I mean, I get them every other weekend. That's good. That's good enough. To me, that's not good enough. And if I feel like and a lot of times men who do that, they will get them consistently, but it's still there with the mother way more.
Yeah.
They feel like they deserve kind of this same respect. And I feel like, because I'm going to go back, I'm not going to contradict myself. It's not a mother's job to tell a father how to be a father. It's not our job. I get it. We, out of love and protection, we want to protect our kids. Therefore, we want to produce, the best environment for our kids, and we think we know what's best for our kids and things like that. And I get that in that sense, but I don't agree that I think we should be trying to get the father to do more. But if he's not, then that doesn't mean you take him away from the kids and things like that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But, so where was I going with that? With the father, babysitter father? Yeah, I'm just basically saying I don't agree with men not having a schedule. Like, women should have, if you, like me, in my situation, I don't get my daughter ready for school any more times than her dad. Why is that not a normal thing? Or maybe it is a normal thing, but maybe we're just discussing the extremities. But yeah. I feel like for some people, for some people, for some families, for some fathers, that's not a normal thing. Like, there are fathers out here who may feel like they're a good father, but they've never gotten their kids ready for school. They've never taken them to school. They have never been there for a school parent-teacher conference. It's all on the mother. But then the father comes through, you got to go out of town. You got to go to the club. You got to go here. You got to do that. You got to work a night shift instead of a day shift. So I'm going to keep him for that. And that's great. I think that's awesome that you don't never have an issue when the mother asks you to keep him. But why aren't you stepping up a little more to say, I'm not going to wait around till you need me. I'm always needed.
Right.
Why is it so? That's when I say babysitter's father syndrome. That's what I mean. It's fathers out here who are babysitters, and they are not inserting themselves in that kid's life the same as the mother is doing. They think it's okay for the mother to do most of everything, and the father just do what she can't do. Like what? No.
True.
No.
True.
I don't agree with that. I think it should be. I think all fathers. I don't care, and that's the thing too. So there'll be instances like this. I've had friends tell me like, a man, so say I need you, she needs the father to step up. Oh, I need you to take the kids this weekend, whatever. Like I have to work day and night, whatever. I'm not going to be, you need to keep them. She said there will be friends that will tell me, and this is like very common, that I get this from all kind of friends, all kind of women who will say that the father will respond and say, well, I got to work. Here's the thing. Mothers work too, okay? So if we got to figure it out, if we got to drop our kids off with our mom, if we got to find a sitter to go to work, why the heck are you telling me you got to work? Get your kids. We all got to work.
Right.
There are men that will literally tell their mother, oh, I got to work. I can't get the kids. Excuse me? So do I. I have 2 jobs, actually. 3. You have 1 job. You can't figure it out.
Right.
You still need to get your kids, whether you have a job or not, whether you have this going on or not. It shouldn't matter. Oh, I don't have help. Find help. You think it's mothers, single mothers out here who didn't have help when they was pregnant, but they didn't have a choice. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to survive. So they had to figure it out. There are so many mothers out here who figure it out because they have no choice. But then you have fathers who have the choice, so they don't figure it out because they have the choice. And that's a problem.
True.
So that's what I mean by babysitter syndrome. I just feel like women, we don't have a choice. So why aren't fathers stepping up and taking on that role as in I don't have a choice either, because technically that's how you should feel too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they come out of us. They're our responsibility in a sense because they're attached to us and all of that. But I feel like fathers, real fathers, they ain't going for that every other weekend. They ain't going for that, oh, whenever you need me, I'm going to come through. I'm not feeling that. I feel like your kids need the fathers just as much as they need the mother, if not more statistically. We talk about statistics. But we see the opposite. We see 80% mom, 20% dad.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have here full of excuses. Full of excuses. I got to work. I got this. I don't got a babysitter. I don't got that. I'm pretty sure when that baby was born, that went through the mother's mind too. I don't have a sitter. How am I going to get to work? But she figured it out. So you figure it out too.
What she said.
Men who are not concerned about pregnancy risk of pregnancy. I don't understand that. There are men who will literally create, like, have raw sex, like ejaculate inside of a woman and everything, say they don't want kids, and they will really do that. And I think a part of the reason that they do that, I feel like, is because they're not the one that's getting pregnant. They're not the ones. They probably got that. They probably be that babysitter dad. So they like, I ain't.
Or just not the dad at all.
Or a dad at all. You know, I'm get an abortion. I'll just pay for that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that irritates my soul. And I know people are probably going to hear this and think, well, why would the woman let her go raw? It's her fault. But I'm like, that's true too. But I feel like the responsibility is on the man too. I don't want to take the responsibility off of the man completely. Yes, I feel like a woman should not be letting a man that she don't want a kid by ejaculate inside of her. Absolutely not. I think we definitely need to have our boundaries. But men need to not be on that, period.
You need to pull out. You are absolutely consciously aware.
Yes.
Of what you are doing.
But there are men who don't care.
They
won't
don't.
they won't even mention that we risk having a kid. Like you, I don't understand men like that.
And I don't either. It's like you knew what you was doing. You made the choice. Now she's pregnant, and you like, well, and it's like no.
Maybe no, you don't even get pregnant. Maybe, all right. Oh, I seen that you did that. I'm gonna go get a plan B now. But okay, a plan B has effects. There are things that go like plan B is literally an emergency contraceptive. It's not supposed to be used all the time. It does something to your body.
Right.
So for you to be reckless as a man because you know that there's plan B and abortions out there, but you're not even thinking about the negative effects that comes from those things with a woman, it's disgusting to me. It's disgusting. But I don't want to be up here and say, well, yeah, that's disgusting for men, but don't also say women need to have their boundaries. This is an accountability show, and I always say that. So I'm always going to express accountability on all ends.
But here's the thing, though. If you are a man who, how can I put this? I call them boundary predators, where you do all the things to get past those boundaries just to have sex with her, and then it's over. But you bust a nut in her, and now you just like, well,
yeah,
I don't have respect for you either. You knew what you were doing this entire time.
No, I think you're worse than the woman that
You
kind of
knew-
allows it.
You knew what you were doing this entire time. So no, you get no respect on this
No
end.
respect.
None
And
whatsoever.
I just think men like that is just disgusting. But that just makes me think about a certain person.
Oh Lord.
Nick Cannon. How do we feel about Nick? Big Nick. What do we feel about this? Okay, is that not what he's doing?
True. But also, see, this is, I wonder if the women who sleep with him, I wonder if they have the conversation of
I'm
like,
sure they do.
you know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Here's a contract.
I mean, he's on his 10th, 12th, 11th
12th.
trial. So the third baby mama should have just like Future. Like at some point, like after 3, 4, and 5, the 3, 4, and 5 baby mamas, they should know.
Yeah,
Right out of conversation.
Like
at that point.
you know
what
you're signing up for. Also, Nick Cannon is a very rich man.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have to. And also he said like he wants to show up for his kids. However, my thing is, man, that's a lot of time.
There's no way. It's impossible.
Like you are CEO of many companies.
Yeah, it's
You have many shows. And you gonna show up to everybody's birthday?
He's not.
I think I read something. He sent like Christmas cards or something, and he got them baby mama names mixed up.
He, in my opinion, he's creating broken homes. That's what he's doing.
Because there's no way.
Because there's no way to.
There's no way you're gonna show up for every single child
You're
every
creating
single
single
time.
mothers.
Oh, of course.
You're creating broken homes. We go back to the trauma, love, and trauma episode where we talked about how we are literally equipped, like, in order to avoid a traumatic brain, we have to have consistent love from both parents.
True.
An absence of the love from one parent causes trauma. Or you can just say that.
I didn't want to
draw attention.
Yeah.
It's a bra though. At least it wasn't,
I didn't want to draw attention. I'm a respectful gentleman, guys. Okay, I didn't want to be that guy.
I know. Let me pull it out of it. Let me see. Do it go all the way up? All right.
Okay.
What was I saying?
We was talking about Nick Cannon creating broken homes.
Yes, creating broken homes. And when I say broken homes, I'm not just saying simply broken homes. You know, I'm talking about the scientific makeup of our brain and how it's wired to need love. We need it. We need it, and we need it from fathers, and we need it from mothers. And it needs to be consistent. The word consistent is a part of that, of the need. Okay?
True.
So how is it that these children aren't going to suffer a little bit or a lot? To me,
I mean,
100% they are.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to have their father in their life that much.
Absolutely.
It's not going to, it's just not possible.
Also about these 80-something-year-old men having kids. What are you doing, man? Like, if you don't get your old penis somewhere and sit down.
That's reckless, because you know you shouldn't be having no kids.
Right. Like, you know you're not going to be here for graduation. What are you doing?
Being reckless with our kids, man.
You might not even hear them say their first word, take their first steps. Now this 20-something-year-old girl got a baby on the way. You better listen to me, young lady. Get that baby in that wheel. I'm telling you. At least get some of the money.
Because he about to die probably in a couple years.
Oh,
That's not funny. But you know what I'm trying to say.
one good scare, that heart is done. Okay,
Yeah,
out.
So, and I'm not trying to downplay Nick Cannon. You know, at the end of the day, I know everybody has their different beliefs because he talks about that. He talks about monogamy being European, which is 100%
Jesus.
false.
Yes.
I feel like monogamy existed before Europe did. So how can you say it's European? But you know, that's just his belief. So when he's doing these things, I think he's doing it intentionally against American culture and the European agenda or whatever. He's rebellious, being rebellious of it. I think it's trauma responses from his breakup with Mariah Carey because this didn't start until then.
Yeah,
But
because he recently just said like if he could ever get back with her, he would.
I feel like he was deeply in love with her, and now he's a different person, maybe for the better in some areas, but not so much in other areas.
True.
And I think this area is one of them. You know, we talking about fathers,
Yep.
absent fathers, and in this case, this could be a situation of an absent father. Even though you're here, doesn't mean that you're giving consistent love that the child actually needs to avoid trauma and the effects that comes from trauma. We kind of already talked about our black men really deadbeats a little bit. I believe there are statistics out there. They're kind of from some years back, like maybe mid 2015 type of thing. So there's some years back, but I don't think much has changed between especially with our culture. But basically the statistics, I forget what is disease control, Centers for Disease Control, something like that. They did a study on active fathers and they found it's way more active fathers than there are not. So that's just to kind of throw out there, this whole narrative with deadbeat dads and our culture not being there for our children. That's just not true.
It's not true.
Black fathers is doing their thing. They doing their thing.
Been doing their thing.
They doing their thing, and then we need to look at the statistics and stop treating men like they don't take care of their kids. Of course, we talk about men who don't. There are out there, and the conversation still needs to be had for the extremities that's out there. But at the same time, the stigma of black fathers not being fathers or good fathers or active fathers is a lie.
It is.
So I just wanted to point that out.
And shout out to all the dads who doing their thing.
Dads, I love
Shout out to all the dads who probably wasn't there in the beginning, but you got it together. You got it together, and you stepping up. You stepping up now. That deserves to be celebrated.
I
think this comes out on Father's Day.
Does it?
Or the day before.
Oh, that's so dope. That's so dope. Yeah, that's another thing. Can the mothers stop with the Happy Father's Day to me?
Let me tell you.
Can they stop? Let the fathers have their day.
Let them have their day and make it a bigger deal.
Man.
Don't take me out to eat. Don't give me no tie.
Don't give him no socks.
Don't give me no socks. I want a billboard of my face on I-75.
Happy Father's Day to the best father in the world.
I mean, you better go all out.
Listen, my daughter's dad deserved 80,000 billboards, okay? And it's crazy. I wanted to bring that up, too. It's so crazy because I say that only because of the stigma that comes with black fathers not being active. People look at my daughter's dad like, he's just an anomaly. And I'm like, bro, he's not. One, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Two, but it's crazy that our culture we're so like this. It's like it's so not normal. We just look at that like it's just
we're not a monolith,
race.
Okay? Black fathers exist. Black active fathers exist.
Okay.
And
let's normalize it. It shouldn't be this, oh, you're a good father. Like, no, he's supposed to do that. So it don't.
Right.
It's not a praise thing. It's a standard thing.
But we know
it's supposed to be like that.
But we know society goes strategically based off what media says. And if the popular thing is to feed off the negativity and the stereotype and the stigmatism of, no black fathers are around, that's what they're going to go on because that's what sells.
Yeah.
However, and I'm challenging our culture to start celebrating more.
Yeah.
I was actually at a vow renewal last night or yesterday, and they've been married 40 years. Beautiful couple. and the bride said, "We don't celebrate enough. We don't celebrate anymore. We need to get back to celebrating."
Yes.
So I challenge our culture. I ain't talking to nobody else but black men, black women, black boys and girls. We got to start celebrating each other more. Beyond Black History Month, beyond Juneteenth. Don't get me wrong, those are beautiful times to celebrate. But I think we need to, and I'm speaking to me too, I think we need to start celebrating each other more.
Yeah. I think there was another thing that I was studying when I was studying trauma. Reward is a part of something we need as well. Reward.
Yeah.
We need that. It's a very motivating thing to have. Validation. Like even though we look at validation, sometimes it's like not necessary. Like social media. Like people want validation from social media, but there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason that a person is getting on social media wanting validation because
Right.
it is something that's needed. They're just going about it the wrong way, right?
Yes.
So validation and reward is something we need. So absolutely, we need to continue celebrating each other, celebrating marriages, celebrating fathers, celebrating, because it is something that we need to have mental health.
Let me ask you a question. This is kind of off subject, but whatever. How do you like to be celebrated?
That's a good question.
I think I asked you this before, but yeah.
How do I like to be celebrated? I don't know. I guess it can really be anything. It can be anything. As long as I feel like it's something like that I like. I'm a word person. I think I like words. I like kind words. And I feel like I'm the person to speak the kind words, or I'm the person to uplift someone. I'm the person that encourages people. I'm the person that supports people. But I don't feel like I honestly am the person that get that a lot. So I feel like for me, because people will say that like when it comes to people pleasing comes from you wanting to be pleased, but so you're doing it to other people what you want done to yourself.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. I think kind words. And whatever, that I like doing. I don't really know. I can't really think, as far as like specific things. I don't think is there any specific things, because I don't want to sound like I am like the least materialistic person ever, especially when it comes to like somebody doing something for me. It would never be regarded around a piece, something that you can buy. It's a thought thing. It's a personal thing. I feel like, so I don't know. It would have to be something that connects with me, whatever it is. If it's words, whatever it is, what's going on in my situation. It's kind of like what I need as far as speaking to what I need. And it could be something tangible too, but it should, if there's a thought behind it, if there's something personal to me behind it, that's how I feel, I guess, celebrated. I don't know.
Good.
What
Nice.
I know you said actions, like support and actions. I don't know if support and celebrating is kind of the same.
How do I like to be celebrated? Being left alone. No, I'm kidding.
That too.
Man, words of affirmation. I appreciate it, but that don't do it for me. I'm not a materialistic guy, even though I really like shoes.
And watches.
I like watches too. But yeah, man, I really don't know.
That's some homework.
That is homework for me.
Homework for both of us, because I feel like I don't know either.
Anything you do, I would appreciate, but something that like hits home, I don't know. I do not know.
Something to think about.
And I'm like you, like I'm the one that is the encourager. I'm the one that, if you need anything, need somebody to speak life into you, I'm there.
Yeah.
I don't always get that in return.
Yeah.
But that's the cost of leadership, period. Because I know God has placed me in a position to be a father to a lot of young people. Yeah. I have been a father figure to a lot of young people. Mm-hmm. But I don't do it to get something in return, which is probably why I don't know how I'm how I like to be celebrated, because
Right.
it's like I'm a giver.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not impressed by money. I'm not impressed by things. I just want people. The biggest thing anybody can do for me is to be their best self and to be true to who they are. Go after what they want and be unapologetic about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So that was a nice little tangent. I have 2 more questions, and then we can wrap this up. One, can husbands or in-house dads be deadbeats?
Yes.
I don't know if we talk about this. Shame on y'all, husbands and dads that live with the mother and literally watch her do everything with the kids. Shame on men like that. That is, because I remember I was having a conversation with one of my friends about, men not being there and And she, people always say, like in my situation, people always say like, oh, you're blessed and everybody doesn't have that. And that's just, it's not a normal thing. And And it's just like, but it is, it should be. And
It's just not normal around you, probably.
right. And she was just saying like, she was like, and you think marriage can make, like, she was like, you think marriage can like automatically deem him a good dad? Like, no, there are women that I know right now. This is what she's telling me. She's like, there are women I know right now who don't ever catch a break with their kid. Like, they don't ever get a break, but they're married.
Yeah.
But they have to take their kid everywhere. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you about my daughter's dad. Okay? That was him when we were together, to be honest. When we first got together, I always had Jordan. I had to take her with me to get my nails done. It wasn't until we broke up where he kind of was like, I ain't no every other weekend dad, though. You know what I'm saying? But when we was living together, I always had her. I had no break at all. And that was an issue. That was 100% an issue. Like, I felt like I had to, like, ask him, like, can I go get my nails done? And it's like, what? Why ain't asking you nothing? Yes. So, let's not leave y'all off the hook. You in-house dads, you married dads. There's still duties that you can help with, and deadbeat is not, you're not excluded from the deadbeat conversation because
No.
you live with your kids.
Here's the thing. It takes work. And I'm sorry. Just because you work, and I understand you work a 9 to 5. I get it. However, the work doesn't stop when you get home,
Right.
because the real work is in that house. Give your wife, give the mother of your kids a break. Communicate that. Like,
Or let's just stop having this give your mother or your kids a break. Like, that already implies that she's doing most of the work. Let's just share the load,
Right.
because we
Share the load. True.
We share the kids. We should be sharing the load. We ain't giving each other breaks. No, that's not. That's not what this is.
And
you have your responsibility as a father, and I have my
Yes.
responsibility as a mother.
And y'all talk to see how y'all can make that work.
Right.
There's gonna be some days one gives more than the other. However, ain't nobody out. It ain't no competition.
Right.
Like,
And I feel like this is especially important for the 50-50 conversations. We talk about 50-50, 50-50, 50-50, but if you 50-50 on the bills, but you're 100% of the caregiver, that's not 50-50. So,
true.
I mean,
Because it's
let's
all.
not be that man that
It's
like,
all work.
oh, it's not 1960 anymore, so yeah, she gonna have to work. But you come home and kick your feet up and she's doing all the housework, that's not 50-50. She's
Right.
doing way more work than you. Way
True.
more. And you being a man and allowing that is disgusting. I want to say that's almost more disgusting than the man that lives outside of the house.
Because you there.
Because you're there.
Like, you are right
and you
there.
are literally watching her struggle. That is ridiculous. That is disgusting. Last question. It kind of relates to this one, to what we just discussed. Bad parent or no parent?
What is a bad parent?
Whatever, that's a subjective question. So whatever your idea of a bad parent is. But it's a bad parent. We're not looking at it like, oh, they're bad,
Yeah.
but they're trying. The bad parent.
Let's just
Or
say
no
the worst
parent.
of worst.
make that a hard question.
Honestly, I would say no parent. No parent at all.
That would be like a nice research study to look up.
My
To
thing,
see the effects on children that have no parent versus the effects on children that have bad parents.
yeah. For me, it would be like, if I'm looking at it from a child's perspective, it would hurt worse if I knew you were there and didn't want to be, rather than you just not being there. Like, me growing up and watching you do nothing with me, but you're around, but you're not around.
Yeah.
It's like, that would say a lot more to me than you just not being there.
Yeah.
Because at least I know you made a decision.
Yeah.
But for me to watch you and make you watch a decision every day that you don't want to be here,
Yeah.
I think that would hurt more.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at it from a child's perspective.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a hard question,
I don't
though.
really think I have an answer for this. I'm after like going through everything, that was just like the question that I had at the end of it. Like, so what does this mean? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All the stuff that we're discussing. Does this mean that bad parents are worse than no parent? Like, I don't really know. I think that's something to think about. I would like to do the research on that to see what type of effects, because I feel like it's very possible, like if there were statistics out there, which I'm sure there are, I'm pretty sure the results of the studies would kind of be similar or the same. So I don't know if it's a worse or not. I feel like it's kind of the same.
True.
The effects, when you're talking about the effects, what
the
happens
effects of
to
it.
the child,
Yeah.
and what the child is going through mentally. Now you have parents that are bad parents as far as abusers, but is physical abuse worse than neglect? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So I'm just gonna say that I don't know. I feel like we're visual people, so we look at bad things happening as worse, but sometimes the lack of something happening is also just as hurtful. You know what I'm saying? The fact that something is happening that's bad versus something that's not happening is also bad. So
Right.
Just think about it like this. Bad parent or no parent, it's kind of the same, because no parent is a bad parent too.
That's true.
So I don't know. It's nuts. I guess the gist is obviously take parenting way more seriously than we are doing it. It sucks to see kids suffer because of our selfishness. It sucks to see us so divided in so many ways. We're divided in relationships. We're divided when it comes to our kids. Our community is so divided, and especially with men and women and helping knocking men down, and men not stepping up and being good fathers. Like, all of it is causing division. It's destroying us. And I don't know. I just think this topic is so important, because it's not just us that we're affecting. We're affecting kids, and the kids is going to just do the same things that we're doing. So just imagine like how worse and worse and worse our community is going to become if we keep tearing each other down, and if we keep being divisive, we keep having these divisions in our culture. I would love to see us uplifting each other. I would love to see us, loving on our black men, loving on each other, and, just understanding the importance of it all. We talked about the statistics, how important it is to have fathers. It doesn't make sense to keep them from our kids. You're only troubling your kid, So I don't know. We can go on and on about it, but did you have any last words or?
No.
Okay.
Other than take care of your kids. That's for everybody.
For everybody.
It's no longer about you, just about you.
Yeah.
But I promise you, you are taking care of yourself when you take care of your kids. I'm not saying neglect who you are. And you say none of that. There's just an added work when you have children.
Yeah.
And so Yeah.
Great conversation.
Great convo. Great convo. This next segment is called Did That Really Happen? Now, this story is crazy. It's a little sad, but also pretty nuts. So, 123-year-old virgin. I'm going to say that one more time.
What? Yeah, I'm lost.
123-year-old virgin still holding out hope that she will find a man one day.
Where are you finding these crazy
Let me
That is the question.
let me give some details here. Her name is, I don't even want to get her name wrong, but I'm going to say Therese, something like that. She is a virgin and still holding out hope to find Mr. Right. She grew up in a household where it was taboo to talk about boys. She listened to the teachings of her culture so much so that her family even began finding men for her to marry once she became of age. She says she never had feelings for any man and just wanted to be alone. She said her strong fear for men rooted in her childhood teachings is what has kept her from engaging with men. When she was finally ready to find love, she said her old age made it hard to find her attracted to men. Let's unload this here.
What? I'm sorry. That's all I can say right now. Woo.
If I could tell her anything,
What you gonna tell her, Dave? I have no words.
give it up. Just enjoy you and the Lord alone at this point.
Were you a nun or what? Sounds nunnish.
No. I think I don't.
Probably not even a Christian.
It doesn't say what country she's in. It's a different country. I want to say Africa, but
Wow.
I could be wrong.
That's an amazing. That's nuts. That's profound for sure.
Number one, 123. Let's start there.
Right. Are you vegan? Like, what is going on?
Number two, a virgin for that long. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe saving yourself till marriage. However, I did not. I was 24 when I lost my virginity. However, I don't think I would wait 123 years.
There's something else
Despite
going
my
on.
belief, 1, 2, and 3 years old? No, I will not. No. Mm-mm.
You know what everything you done seen so many things happen in the world and you have never
And you ain't even.
all these things going on, all these new sexual positions being added to the table.
Let's not even add a human yet. There are things like you ain't even self-pleasure or something. But the sad part is it's what she had been taught as a child is what made her fear men. Now, I don't know what they taught you.
Right.
Because 123 years of being afraid.
Now, some countries, though, men are scary in some countries. Very predatorial. And yeah.
And the thing, and like your family even tried to set you up and you was just like, no to every single one. That's crazy.
That's a deep fear right there.
Huge fear.
Yeah.
Man, that
Lord,
sucks
keep me
for
from them
her.
fears.
But I know for myself, something happening.
Right.
Like 123, I don't even want to live that long.
Right.
I really don't. And if I'm still because I'm clearly not. But if I was a virgin by the time I'm like 70, Lord, just take me.
I'm ready to go.
Take me, Lord. I've lived a good life.
Have you?
I just ain't got none. I ain't had none. At 70, I don't even want to know if it works still. I want to go be with my Heavenly Father at this point. Okay?
Man, yeah, that's a lie. I really don't even know what to say as a woman. Being a virgin that long. That I can only say, I can see though, honestly, from personal experience, the trauma that can come from whatever. And the fear of having sex or the view of sex to somebody. I can see that being a thing where you don't have sex. That you
Oh
just
yeah,
don't want to.
absolutely.
But I don't know about 123 years. You know, that's a little. That's maybe a lot extreme.
I wanna live to be 100. But if I ain't had none by 70, I think the Lord's will has been done for my life. It's time for me to go.
Okay.
All right. But listen, thank y'all for tuning into this episode. We love y'all so much. Thank you for the support. Listen, we about to be working.
Yes.
Okay? So be on the lookout for more dope stuff.
Absolutely.
We love y'all. This is Not But For Real. We out.
Tell me how I feel. We on that fire. Tell me what's the deal. Nah, but for real. Tell me